In a court ruling this week, a Circuit Court of Appeals refused to decide whether or not Donald Trump has immunity from the defamation lawsuit filed against him by reporter E. Jean Carroll, who says that Donald Trump had sexually assaulted her in a department store changing room in the 1990s. Now, what this appellate court did should terrify everybody, because they made it very clear that the DOJ has already given Donald Trump one of the greatest gifts he could ever receive. Let me read. Well, first, before I read it, actually, let me just explain a little bit of the backstory. The DOJ, controlled by Merrick Garland, appointed by President Biden, is representing Donald Trump in this defamation case because they say, or he argued successfully, I guess, that he made the statement as the President of the United States when he allegedly defamed Ms. Carroll. So therefore, it would be protected speech and he should have immunity. The DOJ said, okay, we'll represent you. And that's what's causing the problems right now with the appellate court, warning us that this sets a dangerous precedent that could in fact protect Donald Trump from not just this lawsuit, but multiple other lawsuits he's currently facing. Here's what they wrote in their ruling. Under this logic, so long as a president looks like he is engaged in conduct that is of the kind he is expected to perform, like speaking to a reporter or attending a government meeting, he is acting in the scope of his employment. But if that were so, then the mere presence of others would neutralize whatever a president did or said, for no president could be held accountable for damage done in front of a microphone or in an official meeting, whether defaming a citizen, exposing classified national security information, or inciting a riot. So that's Judge Denny Chin, New York City, that wrote that. And he went on to say, this is not and should not be the law. So Judge Denny Chin seems to be one of the smartest judges I've seen in a very long time, and he's out there saying, listen, if all Trump has to do is say horrible things or do horrible things that would get the rest of us sued to oblivion, as long as he does it in front of another person, he can say, no, I was talking to that person as the President of the United States. And therefore, he would have immunity because of the DOJ's decision to represent him in the case, because that decision shows that the DOJ thinks he is acting as the president when he does these things. And as Judge Chin said, that is not and should not be the law. But unfortunately, what this appellate court had to do was they had to say, listen, we can't decide. We don't have the authority to decide whether or not you have immunity. We have to kick this over to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. If that Court of Appeals rules that Donald Trump does have immunity, that defamation suit is over. But not only that, it would also effectively put an end to the civil lawsuits that Donald Trump is facing for allegedly inciting the riot on January 6th. He is the target of multiple different civil lawsuits related to that matter. And if this particular lawsuit, if the court says, yes, you have immunity, then those other lawsuits are as good as dead as well, at least Donald Trump's involvement in them. But if the D.C. Circuit does not give Trump immunity, what does he do then? Well, he appeals it right to the Supreme Court. And I think we all know what happens next. I'm afraid the defamation lawsuit from E. Jean Carroll is probably dead because of Donald Trump's court packing. Which also means, of course, that those January 6 lawsuits also dead. Just the civil lawsuits, folks, not the criminal ones. E. Jean Carroll is, of course, suing Donald Trump on November 24th for the alleged battery that took place in the 90s, so there could still be a little bit of justice there. But the DOJ screwed up, and that's what Judge Chin is warning us. They've set a dangerous precedent that could basically allow any president in the future to virtually get away with anything they want. I know what a lot of you out there are thinking. You're thinking, wouldn't it be amazing if you could wear the Ring of Fire logo across your chest? Well, now you can. Just head on over to our Teespring page to find some awesome merch we're offering for our viewers. We have more designs that are going to be added in the near future, so just follow the link in the description or take a peek at the shelf of merchandise under this video. Thanks for watching.